Hello, everyone. We're just gonna wait a few minutes before we get started, like usual. This is actually a 400 Actually, I need to change the name because it's not that accurate. Uh, Actually, it is accurate. Oh, and the stream's like really delayed. That's great. If I can use this laptop. Okay, that's good. Awesome. Hello, everybody. So this time we're set up in a way that I can actually talk to everybody as well. I have my laptop here, the one that we will be playing Train Simulator on. I'm looking over here because I have my old laptop, the one that I always used to use. This was my baby beforehand. Hope we don't get too much lag on the stream. I'll be able to tell if we do. And yeah, I completely lost my train of thought. Awesome. We might have one interruption in this stream because my mother gets off work at 6 and she's going to probably want to talk to me, like usual. But what do you do? It's okay. We'll actually be doing a full thing because this is a 400 subscriber special live stream. Yeah. So we'll just wait a few more minutes. Not that much longer. Don't worry. We will begin very shortly. I can't type on this keyboard on this computer. It's kind of bad. So if my typing's like really messed up in the chat when I respond into the chat, just don't mind it, okay? My keyboard on this laptop over here is different from this one. The lag on the stream doesn't seem too bad, but it's also bad at the same time. Like there is some like cut in it. Everything seems to be working fine though. Like, of course the stream's gonna be delayed by a bit. We've been in here for 6 minutes now. I actually like being able to I like being able to see what I'm actually doing. So yeah, we will get started here probably in about 1 minute. I always like doing things kind of on a schedule almost. I put it out on Instagram that we are live. And I mean, more people will probably join the stream as we go on. And I am sorry that the stream is lagging a lot. Like, it will buffer sometimes. It's probably because of my internet. I don't know. The stream health is nyeh right now. I just hope that the buffering won't cause for it to, like, mess itself up completely. It probably will. Anyways, so I actually got the GP40 DLC, GP40-2 and YNT livery DLC for Train Simulator World. And I actually really enjoy it, personally. It's much like the GP38, but also a mix with the SD40-2. So, we'll start here right now, actually. So, we are lead of a coal train with two GP40s by the looks of it. Nobody else in here with us. So, let's set up this locomotive. Once again, I'm very sorry for the lag in the stream. I'll turn on. It's also snowing in the game because, you know, it's snowing outside right now. We'll get the bell on here. I also really enjoy the bell sound for this game. And we will notch up to 1. Put the FPS counter on. I altered my game a bit so that I get more frame rate from the game as well. So, once again, I'm sorry that the stream is kind of laggy. Minor, yeah. It says that it's good now. Like, I can see everything that's going on in the stream, so... not gonna lie, no clue how to turn on the wipers on this locomotive. Oh yeah, it's the same as the SD40. So we will move the visor. Turn on these. Close the visor. And, we get the bell off. I don't know. Do we have a conductor? We don't even have a conductor. Awesome! Okay, we'll check the map here quickly. Oh, they changed how this works, I think. Hold on, I have to alter my settings really quickly. Objective marker, so I know where I'm actually going. There we go! We're good now. Let's roll. So, obviously, GP40-2. GP40s have always been like a favorite locomotive of mine, along with just the Jeep series in general has always been a personal favorite. Get her up to the limit there. So this might be a little bit shorter just because we're not actually going like all the way over Sandpatch grade. We're just going halfway up to Shaw Mine. I don't know how many cars we have. Seems like quite a few. Oh yeah, we got an SD40 on the back by the looks of it as well. I didn't actually realize that like the visibility would actually be this hard to see out the window. But what do you do? The interior is pretty much the same. This is actually different though. The font is different on the numbers. This is also something different on this locomotive. It's the AFM indicator. Yes. Let's throttle up a bit. Let's get her up to 16, I'd say. Because why not, right? 15. 16. I actually thought this locomotive was going to have the digital display on it. I personally much prefer the digital display over the traditional needle speedometer. Oh, that's why I can't scroll down. Makes sense. Once again, I am very sorry for the lag in the stream. I can't do anything about it for some reason. I think it's just my internet. It might get better over time. It might not. I don't know. Could turn off my Wi-Fi on my one phone, and then we'll see if that helps. Wi-Fi. If it will cooperate with me, because this phone, when I had it originally, would rarely ever cooperate with me. And see if anything gets better. It should. Hopefully. We'll have to wait and find out. Did we actually mess this all up? By the looks of it, we did actually. We had to back up the train, which is what we're gonna actually have to do now. Of course. Because why not, right? Put her into full service. Keep an eye on the brake pressure though. The rear car. There we go. So we're put down to dim. Turn off the ditch lights. Put on the bell. Horn 3 times. And let's back her up. And the stream's actually like really delayed, and I have no clue why. And I would just love for it to catch up, but that's probably why it is not working to the best of the abilities. I don't think the mirror works in this. Just like the mirror works, but it doesn't work. Like it works like this, You can see everything, but when you put it out, the mirror does absolutely nothing. And I would rather enjoy using the mirror, because I feel like it would just add a lot to this game. Throttle back down there, because now we got to go all the way back down over the other switch. So yeah, the locomotive doesn't look that bad. So our locomotives are 3663 or 6360. What is the number of this locomotive? Is it, wait, it's 6363. That's pretty cool. And we have 6320. Both GP40s, and let's check out the engines at the back. This is one mess up in a real life situation that you will never want to run into. So yeah, we have 6068 here and 8334 with its ditch lights on. Okay. There's something on this laptop that always used to come up because it was an Acer, and it's always been so annoying because it never responded, and I can't see a good portion of the screen. There we go. Okay. We're like sort of good now. The stream's actually catching up. But like I literally have stated before, this is the like the 400 subscriber special. This has been like a thing that I've kind of like wanted to have happen, because I've actually done YouTube since 2013, and it just never has worked out. And it just I don't know how to explain it anymore. I'm really happy that you guys enjoy the content that I give you and stuff like that, like Engines of Via. And someone just asked me a question: LRC or F40PH? The obvious answer to that one is the LRC. The LRC, why is it my favorite? Probably because of its story. I don't know. Probably just the way that it looks. Via used to roster so many more engines than they do now. It used to be so much better. I have a drink over there. Actually, are we almost back over the switch? I don't even know. Are we over the switch or are we not over this? We're not even close to being. Okay, no. I'm gonna grab my drink. It's like literally on the other side of my room. I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. Sit her back down. We almost over this switch? Yeah, we are. Okay. Thoughts on Train Sim World? Not gonna lie, I don't play Train Simulator anymore. I do not play, like, the original one anymore since this game came out. Going from this game to Train Simulator, it just does not work out for me very well. It just feels, like, rather weird to me. Do we clear the switch? Okay, we're gonna have to clear the switch. Turn the bell off, reverser neutral, and get out. Okay, good. We did clear the switch. Awesome. Oh, there's our beautiful locomotive. Take a picture of her. Why isn't our... Okay, a wiper wasn't on there for a second. Okay. You know what? While we're standing, we will do this. Now, I just switched that switch. We're going to make sure that the switch is switched. And, yeah, we're already late to leaving Cumberland, obviously. So, we'll do that. Repeat the entire process all over again. From the standstill, notch her up into 1, and here we go. Yeah, there we go. Now we're going straight. Awesome. We're all set now. Ditch lights on. Okay. The stream's like pretty much caught up too. No, it's not. Never mind. Never mind. Okay. The stream is actually like, it's caught up, but it's not. At the same time, it's not as bad as it was before. So, can't really complain, but you can because it's still bad. I think it's mostly when the game's FPS drops, which you guys can't see the game's FPS. Excuse me, because the face cam is covering it. Oh, better notch down there. Okay. Awesome. Now there's no snow on our windows. Hear another train, unless that's our train that I'm hearing. Probably our train that I'm hearing. That's true. That's really true. If you mess up, if this actually happened in real life, having to back up a train like that, and like that was in the real world, that's like you messed up, and it's like if that messes up happened in real life, you can forget coming back. Very true. You can live by that almost if you're working on a railroad and mess up. So we really have to keep an eye on switches because the game has obviously updated without my knowledge. So I follow Train Simulator on Facebook, so I know. I also follow them on Steam, so I know when the game gets updates. And I plan on when they get another locomotive for CSX. Like I'm personally hoping that they will actually add the SD70 Ace. There wasn't many of them made for CSX, but I think they're really unique locomotives. And I think that it would actually be a really good addition to this game, personally. And someone just asked the question, if you could be the boss of Via Rail, what would you do? I would probably run the company so I didn't crash the company in the ground, but I would probably also have more involvement with the community. Via Rail is rather actually involved with their community already, but not as much as like Amtrak with like their veterans unit. I would love to see Via Rail have some sort of veterans kind of, like, not even just veterans, just a different, like, a unit that shows some sort of significance. So, is this, are our switches set? Our switches are set. Awesome. We're good to roll. Once again, I'm really sorry for, like, the really bad, like, the buffering problem on the stream. It was doing fine. And then I did Siri because this keyboard on this laptop, like I said, is different. Let's see. Okay, we almost oversped there. I can't see anything. Like, almost at all. Because this wiper, I feel like, does not go over far enough. Do you have a conductor? No, conductor's still dead. Okay. It looks like the stream is pretty much caught up. So... hold on, let me just, like, I'll check a bit of the stream options. Let's see. Optimizations. Yeah, so I should actually see if I can optimize this stream for something different here. I just don't know how to do anything like that. Advanced settings. I can't even see where the whistle post is. I think I've passed the whistle post. Yeah, definitely. Turn the bell on and... there we go. The bell sound just cut out there for a second. I'm so not doing the horn blast right, but you know. As long as you, like, blow your horn over a crossing, you're fine. There's the crossing. I can see it now. Here, we'll go outside here. Watch the engine just roll past. Oh, I've seen so many different styles of engineers. I watched a video once and it described it very well. On how every engineer has their own style of like blowing the whistle. And I find that very true. I personally do find that actually rather true. Let's see if there's if we actually need to stop. Okay, no, we have green signal. Oh yeah, because we have to cross over. Okay. This means that we need to actually boop and boop. Once again, with if I was the boss of Via Rail, what would I do? I don't know if I actually finished that. I don't believe I did. Sorry. Probably just it'd be more involved with the community and have more units that are dedicated to things. Like I would personally, I would probably put one of the F40s back into like, let's say, sorry, yeah, Canadian scheme, because most of you might know that Canadian scheme is my favorite scheme for an F40. If you watched Engines of Via, I emphasize that a lot. I think I did this way too early. Well, I don't know. That was a long horn blast. Yeah, the crossing... No, the crossing post was back there. Looks like we got an AC 4000 in front of us. And one short, and then one long. There, that time I followed through on that. Okay. Awesome. Because I always mess it up. And I'm always like, short, short, long, long, short, long. It's all out of order. I would definitely bring back Montreal Locomotive Works engines. I would, only problem with that is, since most of the Canadian companies have went out of business since Via Rail was formed, is that there's no, I don't think there's actually any Canadian, like, locomotive building places anymore. If I'm not mistaken. We should apply a bit of independent here. Sorry, there's a lot of horn going on here. But like, if I was in charge of Via Rail, I probably would bring back an FPA4 or an FP9U or something along those lines. Since those are like my personal favorite engines on Via Rail. There's a lot of horn blasts going on. But GMD is a whole different story in my book. So I'll explain that story here when we're over this crossing. Okay, so this, my opinion on GMD. When I found out back in 2012 that GMD was leaving, or GMDD as I call it, was leaving London, that kind of just was like, it almost like hurt me, like not directly, but it's like it still hurt. Because as a Canadian, we watch our industries leave to go somewhere else where labor's cheaper, parts are cheaper, stuff like that. Except GMD had been around for many years. They had been building locomotives since diesel was made. They were the Canadian branch of EMD. So they were obviously a very big component to their American counterpart. But GMD, if you look at it in a spectrum, or just if you look at it in general, GMD was actually more popular with buyers, or in the buyers being locomotive companies like CSX, Union Pacific. If you look at the engines that they ordered, engines back before 2012, almost all the American locomotives were actually built by GMD, not EMD. I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot of locomotives were built by EMD. But your big engines, like all your SD70 Aces, were built in London, Ontario. Has Via ever owned those super domes like those from CN? Because I've seen pictures of Via Rail, the super domes, like I think Amtrak still has a super dome, if I'm not mistaken. The super domes were transferred over to Via. I think 2 of them or 1 of them were repainted into the Via livery. It was used in revenue service on the Canadian for I think a year or a few months, and then was switched over to private service, and then was completely disregarded because of the Bud coaches had their dome cars, and it looks better with Bud cars. I mean, back then, if we're talking in the time, like we're talking like 1978. Yeah, Via mixed the Bud consist with their blue line coaches or their lightweight coaches. But like they would do it like consistently. It would be, you would have your sometimes you'd have your Bud baggage coaches, but you would also have the Via lightweight coaches, and then you would have the Via coaches up until your dome car. And then you would have your Bud stainless steel dome car. And then you would have more blue cars. And then you would have like your Bud dining car. And then at the back of your train, you would either have just your normal blue liner car, or you would actually have the Bud observation cars. But now the Canadian is usually 2 to 3 F40 PHs and a full stainless steel set, because they wanted to bring back the Canadian Pacific 1950s vibe to it, which I've read on the Canadian personally. That was almost 10 years. Actually, that was 10 years ago now that I took the Canadian. I remember it very vividly. I can remember going up into the dome car. And I didn't even go across Canada. I just went from Sudbury, Ontario to Toronto, Ontario. But it was still, it's if you ever like come to Canada and plan on taking the Canadian, it's the only way you can see Canada. I would not suggest driving across Canada. I would say take the train. I've heard from countless amounts of people that on how beautiful the Rocky Mountains are. And I've actually requested this to Dovetail Games, doing like the Canadian somehow from either Winnipeg to Vancouver through the Rockies or Toronto to Winnipeg, because this game could actually almost show off how, in a virtual way obviously, on how nice the Canadian Rockies are. Pretty much that's all I have to say about that. I just realized actually how bad the light is in this room. And yeah, sorry you guys, like I look really dark. I even forgot to change my shirt. I'm still wearing my school's uniform shirt. So yeah, don't mind that. I had my LRC shirt to switch into. I don't know why I didn't. Yeah, so we got quite the ways to go still, so. Did I even... No, we didn't even turn back on the ditch lights. There, now we're Now we're cruising. Actually, we will be cruising once we notch her up into 6. Okay. I can't even see crossing signs. Like, my view's, like, completely obstructed by this, like, piece of, like, this snow on the window. So I have 2 questions that were just asked in the chat, and I'll answer them, obviously. Park cars. Or, yeah, was it park? Yeah, park cars. Or, I think that what you mean is observation cars as well. They go by both. Park and observation. From what I know, there's no official and we missed a crossing, because I didn't see it. Anyways, sorry. Park cars, from what I know, there's actually no original, well, like, there's the Canadian Pacific park cars that are left, but via scheme, but they're more like the prestige class. Via Rail has prestige class where you can actually put, like, they have like reserved cars for people, and you pay a stupid amount of money. The last time I looked for a prestige like room/car, it's $8,000. But that's if you have money, obviously. But when my English teacher took it, because my English teacher told me about his experience on it over actually the summer, he said that it was open to the public. I would say public from a certain time to a certain time, and you can go into the lounge area, into the dome on it, and stuff like that. But other than that, I don't think Via uses their blue stripe ones anymore. The last 2 cars on the Canadian usually now have black stripes, which I noticed, and I believe they're kind of like private cars. They're for the prestige class, but they're open to the public from a certain time to certain times. So what, like when I took the Canadian about 10 years ago, you could actually go back into the observation car and all of that, and it wasn't like on a time thing. It was like you can just walk through the entire train if you wanted to. But now you can't do that anymore. From what I know, I haven't taken the Canadian in 10 years, like I said. Oh, I didn't even realize that the limit went up there. I put her right up into 8. Sorry about that. The stream, like, literally just crapped out on me for a second and, like, stopped. Kind of. It didn't stop, but it did stop. It said that it was offline when it wasn't offline. I don't know why. There. Now the stream's like 100% caught up. Almost. Pretty much. I'll let the stream kind of catch up, if it will. And shout out to Andrew Bong. Check him out. If the stream will continue. Yes, okay, good. We're good. It's a little behind, but it's okay. It will catch up. It always does. It always works out. We go through these periods where it will lag a lot, but it's okay. Let's continue. Do I think that Rapido should bring back the turbo and HO skill? Personally, yes. I would definitely, if I had the money, I would indefinitely buy one, even if it doesn't match in with the arrow that my railroad's based off of. Which mine, I don't even know what it's based off of yet. I have stuff that doesn't really work out very well. Like I have an AC4000, but also a Canadian scheme F40, and Canadian scheme wasn't introduced until '98. And an FPA2, and VIA retired the last of their FPA units back in 92. So eventually, when I get the money to like fix my set to a certain era, I'm gonna be focusing on. I think I want to focus on. I want Canadian scheme engines. Personally, or F40s at least, because the F40s are the only ones to receive Canadian scheme. I don't know if we have any more crossings here or not. But should Rapido redo the, turn off the ditch lights there. Should Rapido bring back the turbo train and 8-stroke scale? Definitely. I have no idea if we've passed this crossing yet. I believe we have. I don't know. Notch up into 4. Oh yeah, we passed the crossing here. Oh, there we go. Okay, the headlights are on bright. Another thing that I really do like about this engine is the headlights at the top. I've always kind of just liked those, and GMD was actually big into like top headlights and stuff like that. I noticed that. Another thing I like about GMD is they built a lot more custom locomotives than EMD did. Like, GMD is famous for their Canadian-built locomotives, like the Canadian Pacific SD40-2 Fs, or their custom. I don't know what their actual names are. I think they're -2 Fs. Like, unless they're WFs, because they're wide body locomotives, but they're also wide vision locomotives. I don't know, but they've also a lot of people know them for building like the GP40-2 LW or the Canadian Comfort Cabs locomotives. Although Union Pacific actually did it first, I think I read up on it on what the origin of the Comfort Cab was. Like a few railroads had wide vision cabs, but GMD made it so that they were safer because tests that were done on the EMD built wide visions for the US showed that the noses were actually very unstable, and if they were to hit a car or something, that the car would actually damage the nose like really badly. So what GMD did is reinforce the nose, and this actually proved very successful. Oh, now we're at a string of crossings. Awesome. But how long will VIA's Bud coaches last? From what I've heard of rumors, VIA wants to retire the HEP2 coaches, so the ex-Amtrak Bud fleet, within the next almost 2 years now. They want to retire them by 2020. As for the HEP1 coaches, like the ones that run on the Canadian, they want to keep those because VIA does want to retain the 1950s style of traveling on the Canadian, and I understand that fully. But as for corridor service, they want to retire them for corridor service. They want to get rid of them. I actually talked to an engineer about them, about why the Bud fleet hasn't been retired. The fleet's over 60 years old. They were the Amtrak ones were built in 1947 by Bud Company of Philadelphia. Those ones, he was talking about them, and I was wondering why VIA hadn't gotten rid of these coaches yet. They're all more than 60 years old. what he told me was maintenance is so easy on them. They do not rust because of their bodies are stainless steel, and they don't have many problems. But he said the biggest problem that they have with them right now is their underbodies are corroding to the point where it's starting to like have holes in the bottoms of them, and they have to maintain that obviously, or they can't run in corridor service. But just to eliminate that problem completely, they want to get rid of the Hep 2 coaches. Like, I don't believe any of the Hep 2 coaches were redone in 2012. Along with the F40s. I know that some P42 DCs apparently actually underwent an environmental rebuild, not to the extent of the F40s, with completely separating the HEP alternator. But did VIA obtain any of Amtrak's dome cars? I don't know if did Amtrak have like dome cars, like stainless steel, like on the Californian Zephyr, like the aircraft style dome cars? Because I know that the ones that VIA use now were the old Canadian Pacific ones. Okay, so they did have them, so I wouldn't doubt it if VIA had them for a while and used them for a while. Probably. They probably did when VIA was formed in 1977. But from what I know now, the ones that are used on the Canadian were the Canadian Pacific ones. And apparently there is actually like quite the difference between your Hep 1 and Hep 2 coaches. I never knew. I can't tell the difference. And another really cool thing is that that's actually really cool. I didn't catch them, but I plan on it in the next few years. Is the Via Rail Bud RDCs. Via Rail is the only company in the entire world to still operate them in revenue service. That's Class 1 company. All the other companies that operate them are usually like Class 2 or Class 3 or short lines and stuff like that. But Via Rail operates them between White River and Sudbury in revenue service. There are 7 of them. They have a small fleet of RDC-1s. They have some RDC well, they actually have all the types of RDCs except for the RDC-9. That's the only one that they don't have because there wasn't many of them made. My spacebar is messing up on me. When I went to Vancouver, they had a Hep 2 coach in the front of the train. That's actually pretty common. Sometimes Via's lash ups completely confuse me. The other night, I didn't get it because I do martial arts on Mondays and Wednesdays. Excuse me. And it gets done at 8 o'clock. So, and Via 87 comes at 8 o'clock. The other day, it actually had a dome car on it. It had a Skyliner car. So, the dome cars that we were talking about on it. And a year before that, I actually had caught Via Rail's Glenn Fraser car. I don't know if all of you know what the Glenn Fraser car is or not. It's a sight to see if you're like a Canadian rail fan and you rail fan Via. That's like one thing. If you've caught that, you're happy. You know that you've succeeded in your job. But the Glenn Fraser is actually an ex-British Columbia rail car. As for, actually, I did research on the Californian Zephyr. I was looking on a website with my English teacher, because me and my English teacher get along pretty well, and he shares a common interest in trains. we were joking about buying one of the rail speeders, or the old work cars, the ones that were before high rail trucks. And I actually stumbled upon 4 Western Pacific, Rio Grande original Zephyr cars. I can't remember their names, but I think one of them was a baggage car, 3 of them were normal passenger, and one of them was a dome car. So I do know that there are still some Zephyr cars left around in the States. Why did Via remove the Sanders on their locomotives? Beats me. I don't even think they had a reason to do that. Oh, I mean, they obviously would have had to have a reason to do it, but I don't know the reason behind it personally. Like Via's EP-42As or their P42 DCs were ordered without Sanders. All the engines used to have Sanders, all of them. But all of a sudden they don't. Murder on the Canadian. My English teacher actually gave me that book to read for his English class. That book, Murder on the Canadian, that is the first book I've read in a very long time, and the first book that I have enjoyed a lot in a very long time. I actually, if you guys are into reading, I suggest you find yourself a copy of Murder on the Canadian. It is an amazing book. Is it like Murder on the Orient Express? I've been told personally it is a modern Canadian version of that story. Or Murder on the Orient Express, which I personally haven't read. Murder on the Orient Express. I'll probably look for the book soon. One book that I'm looking for is Stratford to Goderich. I don't remember the name of the book. It's oh, and the limit dropped dramatically apparently. Apply some brake here. But, what was I going to say? I know what I was going to say. Hold on. It would just take me a minute to remember. Oh, yeah. Talking about the, I don't remember the name of the book, but it, covers Stratford and, like, the line from Goderich to Stratford from its very beginnings. Not a lot of people know, but if you ever have heard of Stratford before, like, if you subtract trains from it, a lot of people think that the Stratford, are more commonly known to tourists as Festival City, that the city was built on the festival. However, the festival was actually built on the railroad. But for that, I actually should make a video about that, because that would be very interesting. I'll cover it a little bit in this live stream. But the Goderich to Stratford rails are some of the oldest rails in America and Canada. I mean, America had their rails for longer than Canada did, but the rails that are in behind my house that go down to Goderich are some of the oldest rails in Canada. The line from Goderich to Stratford was finished in 1854, and by 1870 it was Grand Trunk Western's main headquarters city. This city was the operations city for Canada and the US. And then when CNR was formed in 1920s, I think it was 1922, CN took the name on the shops. Actually, I live right beside the main shops for Canada. That's where, if there was ever major repairs to be done, they would be sent here. The facility could hold up to 23 locomotives at a time. It had tender bay, a boiler bay, the erecting shops. The shops have been cut down 100% to the original shop that was built. The expansion went all the way back across a field, which is now empty, and they actually took out the original turntable now. It was there a few years ago. Not the turntable itself, but the hole where the turntable was. It's still kind of there. It's kind of like a scar in that sense, and if you walk through the parking lot where the more of the building was, you can see rails going everywhere in this parking lot, where at one time narrow gauge and standard gauge engines actually would run in there. Another big scar on this city is the Y at the back of our yard. That was where the, I think, 25 engine roundhouse was. And all that is there now is a track that runs back into where the roundhouse was, is now a factory. And the Y is partially abandoned by GEXR. It's used as a storage track now. But I think I actually might in the new year make an entire video on Stratford's railway history. But when diesel started coming in, these steam shops that would repair steam locomotives were obsolete. Why have the shops? So in the 1960s, the shop closed. But before that, because the Stratford Festival started around 1952, the CN at the time actually had a choir here. It was called the Canadian National Choir, that they were part of the CNR shops. And most of the Canadian National workers actually went to the festival. So people think this city was built on the festival. The festival was built on the railroad, actually. And I see some people have commented some questions, and I will get to those now. I got into that because I enjoy talking about stuff like that, because not a lot of people know that about Stratford. So what do you think of the fate of Via's Hudson Bay, aka the Churchill train, since the line is washed out and everyone's arguing about it? So, from what I have heard, in my opinion, it's very childish on how they're dealing with this. From what I know, the government was originally going to force the company to rebuild the line. When the line refused to do it, the government, well, I'm referring to Via Rail as government because they're a government company. Via Rail forced them to pay for the shipment of 2 locomotives and 16 cars. The locomotives were recently actually shipped back from Churchill. Hello? Good. Hold on. This will.
Where's your pillowcase go?
It's on my bed. It's okay.
It's on the floor. Why?
I don't know. Okay, what's up? Sorry.
What about you?
Not much.
Did you see Liam today?
Yeah, it's cool.
He's not suspended anymore?
No, his suspension's over. Why?
Okay. So he's not allowed to talk to you? Is that what's going on?
No, I don't know.
He didn't say anything?
No, well, of course he talked to me. Like,
Oh, he didn't say he wasn't allowed to come over or nothing?
oh no, he's not allowed to come over anymore.
Oh, no?
No.
Oh, how come?
Because.
Because...
Hold on. Well, because his parents found out what he said, what he was doing, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Hold on.
I'm just